I want to hit the highlight on what you do at NASA.
In 2018, I got to fly on NASA's Camp 2X campaign, and I was flying a Lear 35. So what's crazy about that is right before, there's a contractor here out of Colorado called Spec, and Spec is a company that builds atmospheric probes, and these probes get hung on, you name it, NOAA's airplanes, NASA's airplanes, different countries, weather stuff, all over Saudi, UAE, China. These probes are all over the world, and they measure ice and water beyond molecular level. So Spec had a Lear 35 that was hard pointed, and we ran probes on the tips, we ran probes on the hard point, and then we ran a belly bag with probes as well, and then probes up on the tail. And this airplane was set to go overseas for Camp 2X, and their right seater backed out. And the airplane was at BJC. They had a huge scramble, and they said, can anybody find an insurable Lear pilot? And this person needs to be able to be gone for the next 60 days. And so it went down the row of Lear drivers and eventually came to me, and they said, would you do it? And I said, yeah, if I can get insured. And no joke, the insurance came through that morning, and I left that afternoon for Goose Bay, Canada, and then just kept going east. So gone for 60 days, went all the way around BJC to BJC, all the way around the world. We had an intermittent deployment in the UAE where we worked with their government on seeding stuff, where we would follow the Lear through, like a King Air would go to penetrate a storm cell, and it would pop its seed flares, and then we would come over and intercept it over top in the Lear, and then we would ingest the seed material as well as the atmospheric conditions to see if it was actively changing the molecular level of the water molecules in the cloud, to see if seeding was effective in that part of the world. And then from there, we were based out of the Philippines, out of Clark Air Base, and we flew off of NASA's P3. It was almost like having like an aircraft carrier. Like the P3 would do 10-0 missions, and it would circle convective cells. At the time, we had a bunch of tsunamis that were popping up, and it would circle convective cells, and then cells that they would find interesting that were starting to build and tower, and we'd set off of them in formation, and then they would say, all right, send the Lear to that cell. And then we would break off, and we would go fly through that weather, penetrate those storm cells, get a bunch of data of the storms building in the South Pacific, and then if we had enough gas, we'd come back to the P3. If we didn't have enough gas, we'd go to Clark, and then they fast turned us on gas, and we'd get back up there on the P3, and they'd send us into another storm cell.